Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk a bunch of animated shows and movies here with new podcasts every other Wednesday. Find everything about us at overlyanimated.com. This one is releasing on a Saturday, though, because we delayed this week's podcast to include the second episode of the Owl House Season 2. So that's what our main topic will be, episodes 1 and 2 of Owl House Season 2. Catch that later on, and you can check the podcast description for the timestamp on when that begins. But to start with, I am your host, Dylan Hysen, since I've not said that yet, and I'm joined to catch up on what we've been watching in animation by Alex Bonilla.
Hello.
And April Collins.
Hi there.
Yes, so Owl House coming up, and check the timestamps in the descriptions for the shows that we're going to be briefly covering here as check-ins, in case you want to know what's been up with some of these shows. Should you catch up? Should you watch them? Let's get into all of that to start with on what we've been watching. Starting off with Amphibia. It's been a little bit since the season 2 finale, True Colors, has aired. So not primary reactions here. And of course we could do so much more on True Colors, but Alex, what's staying with you from the finale of Amphibia?
Well, I think a discussion of True Colors would be incomplete without thinking about the discourse around it regarding the potential, the delay, and then potential censorship, and then it comes out mostly intact, but we get the season 3 intro out of it. So, I have been very invested and interested in that conversation going on with the different animation industry people I follow on Twitter, So the fact that True Colors inspired all that coming out was very interesting to me, and the finale itself was amazing. It should have gone without a problem. It was very emotional. It felt like a very good culmination of Anne's character and Marcy's character that we've been building up in season 2. A lot of definitely a couple of fake out moments that were pretty effective, and of course you leave us on a very interesting spot for season 3. That it's an immediate hook. Finally, we're gonna see a different environment. So True Colors lived. I had high expectations for True Colors, and it lived up to them. I'm just very happy that it got more eyes on Amphibia, which is a great show, and I think that the season 2 finale, it's a good representation of Amphibia running at full speed.
Yeah, really epic, fantastic finale. Pretty blown away by how hard they go. That one of my big takeaways, this show goes so hard in the finales for what sometimes is a pretty chill show. So I don't know if I've seen that before. It goes so hard with these season 1 and 2 finales, but True Colors was great. Obviously the big reaction to what happens at the end, which I guess will be a little bit vague about since if people have not seen, but with Marcy, but shocking moment, cannot believe the show did that. It was epic the whole way through. One of my big takeaways, how much it was inspired by Miyazaki's Castle in the Sky, this finale. Heavily inspired by Castle in the Sky, which I love to see. I thought it was really fun. There's so much to talk about there.
There's that transformation sequence,
yes,
in the episode, guest animated. I thought it's always great when you get somebody injecting a different style than the show usually does, and so that's just another example, right in the perfect place, and combined with the emotional buildup for that. So that was also a big highlight of that episode.
Yeah, definitely. Any other things you wanted to highlight?
I think also just Sasha and Grime, they deserve at least a little bit of mention. Their plan has come to fruition there, and they're left in an interesting spot at the end of the episode. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how they handle her, because there's a couple of different there's a worst case scenario of her getting sidelined, and a best case scenario of doing interesting things with where she's at. But so I'm intrigued to see how they balance that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, love Sasha Stan. Love Sasha in the finale. Okay, there you go. That we'll leave it at that with True Colors, as we have other things to get to, but obviously could be a lot more from one of the most epic and notable finales in recent animation memory, I'd say. Let's talk. Another show just had a season finale. Final Space season 3 has just concluded as of this recording. I can give the finale reactions in a second, but April, you know, you're catching up on Final Space. Where are you, and what has stood out to you from the season so far?
So I am on episode, I think I just finished 9. I know I've definitely seen 8. No, you know what? I've seen 9. I literally just finished watching, and sometimes things blur together whenever you're watching them.
How's the season so far?
Final Space is always this show that I feel is very underrated, and it just continues to sort of blow my mind away with every episode. Not in a bad way, but in a positive way. Just the fact that it doesn't get enough credit, or it doesn't get the credit that it deserves. Every episode is just so beautifully, it just looks so pretty. And there were a few moments where I was very torn apart about things that have happened or took place. And I'm every episode is a bad episode. And I don't mean that in they're bad in terms of quality or content. It's just things just keep getting worse and worse and worse. And so I'm really excited to see how the season wraps up, because I feel we've got a little bit of everything going on all over the place, but it's not so much chaos that I'm put off by it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. Nice. And you're you're digging it so far.
Yeah, I'm digging it so far. So, I mean, the first couple of episodes I thought were a little bit slow, but it's definitely picked up as it has continued on.
Nice. Yeah, I think the pace is definitely fast in the season. I will say for most of the season, I wasn't really into the plot of what was happening. I can elaborate that in a second. But having just seen the finale, I do want to say I loved the finale of the show. I won't spoil anything, but I thought that the finale was really incredible. It did pull me back into the season after I was a little bit checked out for a while. I thought it was epic. It was emotional. It was super gorgeous. The whole season was super gorgeous. Great for all the characters. I was really impressed by how they incorporated all the characters. Could be the best episode of the show. I don't know, but I loved the finale of Final Space. Loved season 3. Loved it. Yeah, no, in general, this season, I think it was the thing with Final Space season 2 and 3 is every episode, I don't know where the next episode is going, which is, depending on your perspective, could be good. I have no sense of the long-term plot arc of the show. It's almost like a non-serialized show to a certain extent. It's each episode seems kind of independent. Which I can get a little frustrated by, but I do think it got there in the end. Obviously, as always, gorgeous animation. The finale did get there, I think, with Gary Avocado and Little Kato, so I think that was a big thing for the season to eventually hit on. Quick things. I don't know, April, Biscuit. I love Biscuit. I don't know at what point I started standing Biscuit, but I think Biscuit is so funny.
Biscuit's I love that Biscuit's the adorable version of Kevin.
Yeah, I could see it. He's annoying. Yeah, adorable.
But
Kevin's adorable too.
I really enjoy the forgetfulness too. Oh, I forgot you guys were out there. What? Or let me go ahead and turn on the artificial gravity, and I'm that would have I was right there with all of the characters. I was that would have been helpful 20 minutes ago, but whatever.
Yeah, and another, I was gonna say, but basically, I'm constantly impressed by Olin's ability, just random characters that are just memorable and hilarious throughout the show. Another random character, and I think you just watched the episode, April, so I hope it's not spoiled. But my biggest reaction this season was actually Clarence coming back.
Mine too.
I remember we hated him last season, and yet I was cheering when Clarence comes back in episode 9. I don't know why I reacted like that to Clarence or why it was so incredible, but for some reason I love Clarence now, I guess.
I was so shocked by it, and everyone was really mad about it. I say everyone, the characters in the show were no, F that guy. And I was yes, F that guy. And then, he ended up pulling through for them. And
so heroic,
I was
Clarence.
Yeah, like it was odd that I was like strangely rooting for Clarence, but also like I think I hate Todd more than I hate Clarence. So
Oh yeah, Todd was also in there. Yeah.
yes, Todd was also in there. Yeah, I just watched that episode.
It's a good use of bringing back a hated character, but showing them so broken down and pathetic that you're like, oh well, I guess I can't hate him that much anymore. Like,
yeah, maybe that was it.
Well,
yeah.
And I think with all of the stuff that happened with Ash too, I was just like, I need her to have like something good in this moment. You know what I mean? Like, because she put a lot of faith in Clarence, and I'm glad that faith pulled off. Like,
no, there's more stuff with Ash after that. So good.
I'd love to hear your reactions about Ash, Dylan.
The only thing I want to note about it, I just want to make sure we note Ash is revealed to be the gay character we were promised in episode 8 when she is flirtation with this weird spirit thing, Evra, and so yeah, Ash is gay. No, I don't have a lot of thoughts on Ash. It would be really interesting to see where we go with that character if Final Space continued. We don't know if it's going to get picked up. But definitely a tragic, I think, turn for Ash is the main thing we're going for this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, just well, quickly, because we mentioned tragic, and April mentioned the idea of like every episode, like chaos is happening. My main feeling with Final Space is just that everything feels like a bummer by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
This season especially, like their wins are very rare for the team. So like it depends on your patience for that. I think it does well in certain spots, but yeah, like it's a rough season in terms of like if you're rooting for these people, it's a little bit hard to watch sometimes, seeing all the ways things go wrong.
Yeah.
Dark season. We are hoping for the pickup for Final Space Season 4, so we'll be stay tuned to that. But good stuff from Final Space Season 3. Next thing we have the third installment of Adventure Time Distant Lands specials together again, focused on Finn and Jake. Alex, Adventure Time expert, big episode for big Adventure Time fans. What did you think?
I absolutely loved it. Like it definitely feels like a proper finale for Adventure Time. Like Adventure Time, Finn and Jake are the main characters, and so like the fact that like this is wrapping up like their story sort of situation, and like it's funny, like it is very classic Jake and Finn chemistry. A lot of callbacks to previous seasons that I think Adventure Time fans appreciated, myself included. The villain spot might be a little weak, although like it definitely something that happens in the latter half of the episode helps it out a lot. But I think that together again just felt very, very fulfilling in a way to watch, like one last ride for the characters. Like given the original finale, like it was trying to stack so much in there, so having something focused on Finn and Jake felt more like that's what the show needed to finally say goodbye. So it was very nice. It was very bittersweet to feel like this is the last time we're going to see them, but I think that it did it as well as it could, and just like also like, just the setting is pretty fun. Like I don't think it's a spoiler to say that it might be a spoiler, but it takes place in a very interesting spot of the Adventure Time lore. So I like that we get to explore that as well.
There's a really fun fake out like 10 minutes in, yeah. So I guess a spoiler, but quickly resolved. It's very really fun. I really enjoyed it as well. My biggest reaction was kind of the fake out early on, but then a lot of fun stuff as well. Anything else, Alex?
Just get ready for Peppermint Butler.
I'm hyped. Okay?
The series.
I'm hyped. Well, I think there's a lot of potential with Peppermint Butler. Okay, I'll go quickly on last week's episode, or 2 weeks ago, depending on when you're listening, new Craig of the Creek episodes. Only 4 more as we are ramping up for the 5-part season 3 finale, potentially epic season finale, which is unusual for Craig of the Creek, but we've not seen that as of this. We've just seen Body Swap, Copycat Carter, Brother Builder, Jessica the Intern. Great episodes in general. I think Craig of the Creek season 3 has been so incredible. Like show's always been great and consistent. I think it's been even more consistent, more great this season. Ton of different types of fun episodes. Every character's fun. Been enjoying Craig so much. These episodes quickly got the third in my cardboard saga with Copycat Carter, which, as obviously you listen to our past Craig podcast, incredibly excited for, and it lived up to the hype. It was a great mecha fight type episode, and it culminates my ship at the end of this episode that I've been calling for years on the podcast. So Carter Zoe and Zozo forever. That was great. Body Swap was a fun take on that genre. Jessica the Intern finally got Jessica and Kit together, which was great. Brother Builder was like one of the most wholesome episodes endings that I've seen. So really good stuff from Craig. I just want to definitely highlight how great season 3 has been if you look back on what episodes have been in the season. And very hyped for the Capture the Flag finale. So we will check back on that. Just to note here that when this podcast is coming out, Summer Camp Island Season 2 and Luca, the newest Pixar movie, will have been released, but we are recording this in advance of those, so we have not seen those yet. Looking forward to talking about them next time. Next thing, we got only the premiere so far of Tuca and Bertie as we are recording this, but big deal, brought back from the dead, now airing on Adult Swim. Just the first episode of Tuca and Bertie. April, what did you think of it?
I don't like being personally attacked by one of my favorite shows, but
they call that the BoJack, but I guess it's the Tuca and Bertie now too. Yeah.
Yeah, now it's first BoJack, now Tuca and Bertie. I thought it was great. I think it has a different tone, I feel, than the first season, and it's going to get very real. It's already very real. But I do enjoy, I guess, the dark humor of it all, because that's my coping mechanism as well. So, I like connected to this episode on so many levels, especially with like Bertie and her struggles. And like I was getting, after I watched the episode, I was like getting mad at Tuca, and then I was mad at like Speckle, and as I was continuing to process this episode. But yeah, it was good. I liked it. But nice. Again, dark humor is my coping mechanism. So
Alex, what did you think of it?
Yeah, it's only been one episode, but like my sense is that like it hadn't really lost a beat, and like it was still kind of almost the exact same feeling that it was in its Netflix form. Perhaps a little bit more direct, because like even Bertie was dealing with trauma stuff in season 1, and Tuca was dealing with how to have her own personal life stuff in season 1, but like here it's kind of addressed way more head on. Like any show that portrays therapy in a positive light, that automatically like upgrades it by like a letter grade. There's jokes in here, of course, about therapists, but also I think at the end of the day, it's just that people go to therapy, please. So yes, please. I really appreciated that. I think the surreal nature of it is still mostly intact. Like there's a good part where they show Bertie as a haunted house, and they do really fun stuff with that. And always the thing with like comparing BoJack to Tuca is that like Tuca Bertie always season 1 definitely felt like it was dealing with these serious topics, but also like keeping it much more lighthearted, much more optimistic than BoJack sometimes was doing. And I think that still is an important piece. It's just one episode, but it's still around, and I really appreciate it for that. So Tuca and Bertie it's a delight to have it back from the dead. Like there's a time we thought like it was gone forever, but there's a season 2. So I'm really excited to see how it goes. See if there are any more obvious tone changes. Like the preview we got for episode 2 had some blurred out breasts. So like we'll see like if there's much of a difference in terms of how open they can be with sexuality, which was a thing that season 1 talked a lot about. But overall, I am very hopeful. I think that the premiere was very strong, and I think that it is capable of keeping that momentum.
Yeah, I think it was great. But yeah, potentially more like kept the thematic weight of the end of season 1. That was like maybe they built up to that, and so maybe that's what we're getting on a little bit. But that's I feel like that's what I'm looking for this season, like keeping that like heavy kind of element to it. So in that regard, I definitely really like the premiere. So we'll check back in. More Tuca and Bertie coming every week. Another show that concluded this for good this time. Castlevania's final season 4, dropped a little while ago, and a lot to take in. But overall, Alex, what did you think of it?
I think it was solid for a finale. I think if you made me pick, I'd probably still go with like seasons 1 or 2, but like season 4, it definitely has its strong moments. I mean, my favorite moment of season 4 was Isaac and Carmilla's showdown. I really enjoyed the lead up to that fight, the choreography of the fight itself, like the way it all went down. So I really enjoyed that. I think that the finale fights were also pretty good. The story kind of lost me at times, but that was also an issue with season 3 too. But like Castlevania was obviously very, the style was just very nice to watch. It's like the one show that I'm okay with watching that is really bloody, just because I feel like it does it in a particularly artistic way. I don't know, but it kept that well. A little bit more a la carte than I was bracing myself for, so I appreciated his inclusion in this season. Of course, Sypha is always a delight, and she has some great moments, especially early in the season, as she's very exasperated. There's a lot to like with season 4. I think Castlevania was a pretty good show that ended for very understandable reasons, and I am gonna miss it because it was fun to watch.
We got the spin-off coming, which we know is the contents of at least a little bit now, so that'll be exciting. I thought the story specifically was pretty mediocre this season. I would say that it's some high points, but the thing I want to emphasize is I feel like this was like an all-time great action season of television, like potentially like an all-time high for this show, culminating in episode 9, which is one of the most incredible action episodes I've seen of animation, period. In a long time period, just incredible, start to finish action wise in episode 9. Like 4 love levels and arguably even beyond of incredibleness. Those are going to be my 2 things I remember from Castlevania, episode wise. And just the action was amazing throughout the season. So like Powerhouse Animation did such an incredible job this season. And like I agree that the Isaac Carmilla, incredible action wise, a lot of questionable story stuff. I think a lot of the story stuff, influenced by it ending sooner than they expected. So I think we're missing a lot here. But yeah, good stuff regardless, and excited for the spinoff of Castlevania. Another Netflix show, we got the second season of Love, Death, and Robots, which is like half of the second run of episodes, which will get the other half next year. Alex, any takeaways from this season?
If you had to pick 2 episodes to watch, I would definitely recommend the Drowned Giant. I feel like that was a very interesting tone of an episode, very subdued, but at the same time, like using animation well to convey like the mundaneness of something that you get used to over time. Like it was an interesting concept, so I enjoyed that one. I also enjoyed the All Through the House. That's like a Christmas parody one. I just thought like it captured the tone pretty well while turning it into its own thing, and like the animation itself was pretty nice. And to a lesser extent, Ice, like that's a very like Ice, I'm not exactly a fan of the short itself, but I think that it represents what Love, Death, and Robots like. The best part about it is like these kind of shorts would usually be like relegated to like animation festivals like that like displays kind of shorts with unique styles. But the fact that this kind of stuff is accessible on Netflix to like pretty much anybody in the world, like that just feels like a positive thing for the state of animation. So Ice is just it's interesting to look at and to like it definitely captures pretty well like the feel of being isolated and trying to like reaching out for any connection possible. So those are the three I'd recommend. Love, Death, and Robots, like season one, very hit or miss, but that's the nature of an anthology. Like you're shooting in all different directions, so it's important to try to find the high spots, and I think that there are definitely some in season two, even though it's shorter.
Nice. April, do you remember any of the 3 episodes we watched of Love, Death, and Robots?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you guys watched them together?
I think half of the season. I was going to highlight Customer Service, the first episode. I thought that was the most fun one to me with the killer Roomba.
That one was also very frustrating because
that's also like leaning towards like purposefully ugly character design, which like is a choice, you know.
I liked it.
I'm sure it works for somebody.
I do. Yes, I remember that one. What were the other ones?
There's one about people who are immortal. I thought that was like the most interesting like the concept, the Pop Squad.
Well, and I remember the one with the whale or something like that.
Yeah, that was Ice. Yeah.
So you watched the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, the first 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they mixed up the order. Remember they did that?
Yeah.
But no, yeah. And I all throughout the house, the short Christmas, I think that was the best one. But I feel like it was less highs than last season, but more consistent. That would be my analysis. But you know, just depends what you like. It's, you know, anthology series. So looking forward to the back half of Love, Death, Robots season 2. Continuing quickly, The Mitchells versus the Machines, big animated movie came out again on Netflix. People really love this one. Maybe some more mixed reactions from our community. But Alex, what's your short review?
Yeah, like visually interesting. Like it's going, like, you know, it's made by the same studio as Spider-Verse, so like it has that kind of feel of like, you know, copying from comic books. I think that the main character, Katie, is very compelling. I like her chemistry with the little brother. I wish there had been more focus on that because the main emotional storyline of her and her dad feels very well trodden territory that doesn't really say anything new about generational gaps and the kids and their technology. Like it doesn't feel like it's doing enough different to really interest me on that front. So like I understand why animation people love it, and I'm sure it'll get like a nomination of best animated feature for the Oscars. But like as a watching experience, it was fine. But like don't set your expectations too high is what I'd urge people if they're gonna check it out.
Yeah, I think it really depends who you are. For me, it was like incredibly frustrating thematically movie. But that being said, gorgeous, and yeah, Katie's a great character. I love the killer Furbies in the mall scene in the middle. That's my highlight of the movie. I love the Furbies so much. And there's like sidekick robots that are really funny, but could get into it a lot, but I think very frustrating thematically for me. Wish Dragon, another Netflix movie. This one just came out. This is like Aladdin in Shanghai, with like Chinese characters. Very, very fun movie. This one is actually of the like Oscar like calendar year marching onwards. This is my favorite animated movie so far, Wish Dragon. I thought it was really fun, really, really fun. I recommend it. Very solid story, extremely tight, almost like too solid. I wish we spent more time with the characters at the end, but like love the main 2 characters and the dragon. He's one of the main 2, but it's just very, very fun, very solid movie. if Ladybug Shanghai fans, the even more prominent use of the Oriental Pearl Tower, which we talked about in that podcast, even bigger in this. Apparently, that's the thing in Shanghai, because both of the Shanghai things I've seen are all over that. They go inside it in this one. Oh man, watch it for the tower. I think it's really fun. I recommend it.
I believe Kipo co-creator Rad Seacrest is involved.
Yeah, he was the head of story, and I do think like story-wise, this was very, very good. So you check it out for Rad. Alex, where are we with Fruits Basket season 3?
Yeah, so Fruits Basket is my guilty pleasure at this point. Like if you thought this anime was a soap opera before, it turns the dials up to 11 in this season. A lot more slapping, a lot more pained inner monologues, a lot more violence. It's definitely. It always leaves me with a feeling after every episode of like, why is everyone reacting so harshly to everything, and why does everybody have mommy issues? But like at the same time, it's like very cathartic. So like obviously there are a lot of problems with Fruits Basket that have been discussed in older podcasts here on Overly Animated, but like just as something that like I can turn off my brain for a little bit and just let the wave of emotions come over me of everybody like acting like everything's about to fall apart. Fruits Basket season 3 has been good for that. So Momiji is now an adult apparently, so that's cool.
Oh.
Okay. Is that going to make you catch up, April?
I mean, I'm going to get caught up either way. It's
just... so is that a spoiler, April?
No, I'm okay. I promise.
He's big. He's tall. He can finally compete with the other boys.
Aw, sweet innocent Momiji.
Okay, there you go. The Fruits Basket catch up. That is all for our What Watching. I had to go quick through some things. I apologize, but glad we got to talk a little bit about all those things. It's time to move on to our main segment on the Owl House. Thanks, Alex and April.
No problem.
Hoot, hoot.
Hoot, hoot.
Okay, it's time for our main discussion on the Owl House Season 2, our first podcast on the Owl House's second season, which is just starting airing. And I am now joined for this discussion by Beatriz, Mourad.
Hello.
And Sarah Dolman.
Hello.
Yes, we're excited to talk about the first 2 episodes of the Owl House, Separate Tides and Escaping Expulsion, which have aired these past 2 weeks. Owl House is going to be airing on Saturday mornings. We are releasing this on Saturday, as mentioned, because these first 2 episodes were screened at a online panel, and so a lot of people have seen them. So now we are talking these first 2. Normally we'll be releasing on Wednesdays, though. So we have 2 episodes, and then also the a bunch of news that transpired a little while ago, and trailers, and just all you need to know about the Owl House we'll talk about at the end of this discussion. But we are going to start by talking about Separate Tides and Escaping Expulsion. So spoilers for these 2 episodes if you have not yet watched them. Make sure you have checked out the second one, since I know this is coming out right away after the second one. So let's get into the beginning of Owl House Season 2, starting off generally. We had a lot of discussions during the off season about the Owl House. We have speculated it away, and now it is here. Now we have seen at least the beginning setup of what the season has to offer. Beatriz, what have you thought of how the season has began?
Like, what a way to start, What a wonderful, wonderful way to start. The first episode set the tone like so well. It just kind of threw us back into that first season, like from where the first season left off. And then the second episode gave us like gave us of the thing we've all wanted to see. So it's kind of like, just very satisfying. I don't know. It's like the showrunners are just have like their pulse on the fandom and know exactly what we want. And they do justice by the story and what needs to happen for the story's sake, but they also do justice by giving us what we want.
Nice. Okay, so you were very, very positive reaction to the beginning.
Yes.
Okay, and we'll dive into what else it is the fans want besides, I think, Lumity was implied in part of that.
Was it? Was I not clear?
I thought you meant Hootie.
Oh my God! Yeah, I mean, the friendship of Hootie and Lilith is like the star of these 2 episodes, I think.
Oh wow. Okay. Even look, we're gonna get into it,
obviously, but you know.
Oh, okay. I mean, to some people, that's not going to be an exaggeration. There's some big Hootie stands. Okay, Sarah, what do you think of these as the first 2 episodes of the season?
Oh my goodness, yes. I was just so excited to watch these episodes. They were so well done as a beginning to the season, and I think they did such an incredible job, like Beatriz said, with establishing the tone, but also just getting us back into the groove of where these characters are at, what their stories are right now, what their relationships are right now, and what we're going to be excited to see continue to develop in this season, particularly Lumity, but also the Hootie and Lilith friendship, and just everything is so great, and I just can't wait to talk about it.
Okay, 2 Hootie mentions in the beginning. That'll appease some people. That's good. No, it was definitely a highlight of the 2 episodes. A strong Hootie start, but I assume that's not where we'll start with the episodes. Now, I also enjoyed these as a beginning to the season. I thought Separate Tides was a fun premiere. I think it is a good episode. I think that set a lot up very well. And it kind of went the route of the kind of so a one-off kind of fun adventure to start a season, which I've seen a bunch of shows do. And I think it was a good call. I think it was fun. And then Escaping Expulsion, I wasn't necessarily expecting to get the big Lumity episode right away. I was hoping to bring Amity into the fold quickly, and I think it was kind of beyond a lot of our expectations that we kind of got into in the past half a year, to wondering where we're going to go with these 2 characters, and I thought that was an incredible episode. I really like Escaping Expulsion. So yeah, I think these are both really strong episodes. Definitely like Losing Amity is what stands out to me from them the most, but I found myself, I think another big point is like, to me, season 1, I really connected with Amity and Losing Amity and Luz's character. Not maybe some of the other aspects of the show, not quite as much as some other people, but what I would say is these 2 episodes did grip me with a lot of different aspects of the show in ways that I think improved on season 1. So I think that there was a lot of good stuff with like the developing mythology, with the Eda and Lilith stuff. I thought that was like very strong in these 2 episodes. I was very happy about that. And I think we are going to get into all of that. I think we basically covered my next question already, which was like, how do these work as a start to the season? Beatriz, any other further comments on this? Are we moving at the right pace to start the season?
I think so. I think there were a lot of questions at the end of season 1 of, is there going to be a time jump? Like, are they going to be on the run? Like, how does this work? And that first episode answers a lot of those questions in a very efficient way. So there's just these little choices that they made that, even though, yes, it's a one-off episode, it's like a one-off adventure, like it establishes so many things for that second season that I think was very, very effective. I was very impressed with the efficiency.
Nice. Yeah. Sarah, do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And I think like what you sort of alluded to, that they also really did a good job of starting to kind of build up this sort of, or further build up what our understanding is of the lore and what the magic is, as well as the sort of what's going on with the covens, and sort of hinting at Bellis doing something, sinister with the portal.
Yeah, something. We'll talk about that. Maybe more information from the trailer later on. But yeah, if you take these 2 episodes as a pair, I think we check in on like basically all the characters really well. So I think it's really good. Yes, episode 1, it's a good exposition episode, checking back in on all the characters, where they're at, answering all these questions we had. I think that we figure out who the new character introduced at the end of last season was, and he makes a strong presence right away in the show. We kind of learn the status of where everyone's at in relation to Bellos. The only thing I would say is like, it does feel a little weird to me starting off in such a calm place after the chaoticness of the end of last season. You know, I was wondering, like, because I speculated during the offseason, are they going to be on the run now? Like, doesn't Bellows have to get them? And the answer is like, no, he doesn't really care, which is, I think, fine. But I think it's a little jarring, just to see this as like the status of things after the end of last season left a lot of these heavy plot things unresolved. But I think it has to be like this. So I feel like they did a good a job as they could have, assuming that we're going to start from like a status quo and then build on that throughout the season.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, you know, they started off with Eda saying, like, trying to sort of reestablish herself, but they're like, well, we're not afraid of you anymore because you don't have your magic. And I think that's partly why they're not, like, the Emperor isn't just, like, going after Eda because he thinks that she's just been tamed.
Yeah, I thought that was a good explanation. I agree with that, yeah. So I think episode 1 really does a lot of legwork and explaining a lot of things with a lot of characters. I think like the only criticism like what I might give is like it's very explicit with the themes. I think with a lot of these characters, I think there's some very like overt lines about like where they're at emotionally, which I appreciate because I think it's easy to get into the analysis now of them. But I think it's a kids show, so it's gonna be like that to a certain extent, no matter what. Right. But it's like it wasn't aiming for subtlety. I think it was like that the first episode trying to be very clear in what's going on with everyone, which I think is the right call. Where do we want to start? Like, do we want to dive into Lumity right away? I think it's going to feel a little different from the rest of the topics we have to get into. I feel like here's my argument for why you should talk about Lumity first. Is that this podcast going up right after episode 2? I think this is what's going to be on everyone's minds right now. So is that a good enough reason, Beatriz, to start with everything with Lumity?
You don't have to convince me to start with Lumity. You don't have to work too hard.
Okay, I think Sarah's good too on that. So let's get into this. I think this is why a lot of people we're going to click on the video. So we're going to go over all the Lumity moments. Don't worry, we're not just talking about Luz and Amity. We are also going to talk about the Golden Guard and Luz, Eda, and Lilith. And Odalia and Alador. Those are kind of the main topics I've spelled out. And you can check the podcast description for times when we are talking about all these topics. Big progress in the advancement of our potential relationship Lumity in episode 2 here in Escaping Expulsion. Let's quickly go over the main highlights, I think, of this episode, which is from like a romance perspective. I think the big progression is we see Luz blush at Amity for the first time twice.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us in our Lumity speculations during the ops, I don't think any of us predicted this would happen so early. So some sort of like evidence of Luz's feelings for Amity. Now, what they're going to discuss, does she know it? Is this just a reaction? Does she know she might have a crush on her? Or is this, just the heat of the moment? And we might get more information as the season goes on. But I think that was like the most exciting thing to see. But just they fight this, Abomaton robot together. They blush at each other. Amity comes down. Stay away from my Luz, she says, which prompts the blush from Luz. And then they fight together. They are smiling at each other on the ground. And this is all after like some angst plotline before that too, with Amity in relation to her parents and her parents trying to get Luz out of the way as so she wouldn't be a distraction towards Amity, which is another answer to something we were talking about a lot in the off season, which was, like, is there going to be any sort of like homophobia, human phobia from Amity's parents? And it seems like their answer is they just don't want Luz to be like in the way of their goals for their daughter, regardless of any of that, not getting into any of that stuff, a lot of like work here. Beatriz, what were your reactions to these moments? What's your big highlight from this episode?
Well, I agree that the biggest thing was like the reciprocation, right? We discussed of whether or not she would be aware, how long it would take if Luz would ever reciprocate her feelings, and the fact that we did get a blush so quickly to just acknowledge an attraction was very surprising and very exciting to see. I don't know if the blush came from Amity saying, "Get away from my Luz." I think it came from her having like, her standing in front of her, and then looking over her shoulder, being like, "Are you okay?" and being all cool and heroic, and like Luz being like, because that I feel like that's Luce's type, is like the heroic, cool, like,
that checks out, yeah.
Edgy kind of character. I feel like that's what she's into. So, but yeah, that was really the main takeaway. The fact that we got multiple instances of that. I hope, because Luce has shown time and time again that she has a lot of emotional intelligence. She's very much aware of her feelings. Like, an example is in the first episode of season 2, where like she starts to doubt herself. She's like, oh, this is all my fault. Well, I can't change the past. I gotta look forward into the future. It's like, okay, you have like a healthy relationship with like that inner voice that everybody has. It kind of talks down to you, that like self-doubt voice that everyone has of like, oh, you can't do this, you can do that. She's good at blocking that out and moving forward. So I'd like to hope that similarly she will be aware that she's attracted to Amity. Whether that develops into how quickly that will develop into something else or whatever, I'm excited to see. But that was, for me, the main takeaway of it all.
Yeah. Sarah, what about you? What was your biggest reaction?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like, definitely Luce blushing and Amity blushing, and like, it's that moment of like, oh my God, like this girl like just came up and wants to defend me and wants to make sure that I'm okay. And, it's that just overwhelming sensation of like, oh my goodness, like she's so cool. And she actually does like care about me after all of the sort of angst of the episode of like, Luce wanting Amity and asking Amity to help, and Amity being like, I can't. And then Amity like, braves that and says, no, I actually am going to help Luce, and helps to defeat the Abomaton. And yeah, so I did really love that. And I also loved Amity bringing a gift to Luce at the beginning of the episode as well. Just like, here, have this cake. Sort of shies away, blushing, can't even look, because it's just, such a sweet gesture. But, it's a dead fairy cake, and Luce can't eat that.
Yeah, Luce's dietary preferences discussed in the previous episode, or restrictions. I thought this was like, to me, this just like totally seemed like a full follow up to what we saw in Wing It Like Witches, following up from Grom, like just fully interspersed throughout the episode. Starting off with Amity baking her the pie as a great follow up to her still being like blushy, and then we see this season element come into play with Amity's parents and how she reacts to that, and then we get like one of our biggest sequences with the two of them with that fight and the blushes from Luz and everything there. So I think this was like I guess at some point I was hoping for them in the first episode, but I feel like this is more than any of us could have asked for from a first check-in on them this season. So I was thrilled with it. And yeah, Luz blushing, I think that was it was great. It was like kind of shocking, just a big moment. So I'm very excited. And the other reaction gets me to my other kind of main question with Lumity is like this gets me very hopeful for how this is going to play out this season, Luz and Amity, because I think we weren't necessarily expecting Luz to potentially reciprocate feelings so early, and presumably this is not going to be, if Amity's not in the next 2 episodes, it looks like probably not going to be something checked in on right away. But it's some in play already, hopefully going to be followed up on in episode 5, which we can go over in a little bit, the outlook of the next few episodes. But yeah, I feel this gets me hopeful that like the show has like a clear path for them this season. It's going to be a major part of the season, obviously not like a main part of the plot. It's like a component that we'll check in on every few episodes. I'm hopeful it'll integrate with the main plot at some point, or not like getting Amity more involved in any sort of main plot that's going on, but I'm not sure about that. But I feel like it's mainly the prominence in the episode, and then the progress with Luz blushing that gets me hopeful for this season. What do you think, Beatriz, of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I always feel old when I say this, but it's just it always is so surprising to see just how open this is. Because I was just growing up, I'm so used to watching shows where I could just feel the censorship. Whereas here, it's just so, like, it's just there. It's happening, and, like, it doesn't feel, like, constricted at all. And I'm just, I do hope that it does become because I'm a fan of drama, so I would love for there to be more angst and drama, and, like, have there be more involvement maybe with Amity's parents in the future that forces Amity to make some hard decisions. But yeah, I was just very I feel like I'm repeating myself. I'm just very impressed and pleasantly surprised with the show. That's just been a consistent thing of just, like, being just very pleasantly surprised.
Nice. Yeah, I think I agree. So, are you more hopeful for Lumity now in season 2?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, I've been adamant that, like, this show really does care about Lumity and developing their relationship and wanting to do so in such a genuine manner, that, like, I didn't really doubt that they were gonna, stray too far from, telling it as authentically as possible. But I am just really excited that they picked it up so quickly in the season, and that, we see Luz blushing, and, she might not know that Amity has a crush on her, but we definitely can see, like, explicitly right there that, like, Luz does, start to have feelings for Amity, and that's just, like, so exciting. Like, I just, like, can't believe it, but I also can, because, like, it's right there. So yeah, I just, like, I do have faith in how the season's going to go and how the future of the show is going to go in terms of bringing them together, for sure. And this was a really great start and brings a lot of hope for me, for sure.
Kind of going off of that, like, there have been, like, it's so, like, I can't see someone seeing these blushes and saying, oh, this is just a friend thing. Like, this is clearly a romantic, this is a platonic thing, rather. Whereas, say, like, in some shows of the far away past, there was still that grayness of, like, oh, you could still write this off as, like, oh, that's just gals being pals. So that just by virtue of that explicitness, it makes me feel this sense of security. And maybe I should know better, but, like, I do feel very safe in the hands of the show in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like also, like, just still what Dana has, said herself about what she's intended to do with the show, and that she's had the support of the executives, like, that still, is still in the back of my mind, that, like, we're not being, it's not just, subtext that's never going to go anywhere, and it's not, queer baiting, because it's intentionally there, and it's intentionally explicitly going to be brought out, as far as everything that they've shown us so far.
Yeah, and I've seen some skepticism from some people, I think primarily based off of there just being a series of, like, really disconcerting events with Disney in general with queer representation lately. So I think that people have been have reason to distrust how Disney in general would handle something like this. But that being said, just for specifically the Owl House, I do think this is the next in a series of episodes of, like, along with Wing It Like Witches and Grom, where this has been explicit, and we have seen in Grom where Amity's feelings were made explicit by the note being revealed, and it's saying she was going to ask Luz to Grom. Yeah. That was, like, our going into explicit territory with this show, and as we've maybe heard from Rebecca Sugar and others, like, once you kind of cross the line into getting having clear queer feelings, like, in play, then it's like all bets are off. You can kind of do what you want. It's just like they would try to prevent it before that. So, like, I think there's no reason to doubt, based off of this episode and the end of last season, that this show has full reign to, I think, do what it wants with Luz and Amity. I honestly, in spite of Amphibia, in spite of, like, the Blue Skies or whatever, like, at Disney, like, being terrible, like, this is separate. Disney's a huge corporation. This is, like, an isolated incident. I have full confidence that this will be, they're going to be able to do what they want with Lumity this season. I honestly do.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, some things that happen are like from like different departments and sub companies within it, like that don't even like interact with one another. So
Yeah.
Like
yeah, and like we're already here with this show, so like this is
the line
happening.
has been crossed.
This
The
has been
rainbow
happening.
path has been passed.
Yeah, exactly.
I also do. I do think it's valid if you are like a fan and you want to be hesitant to feel totally confident, just because there's just such a long history of this kind of thing happening.
And exactly, and it's not just Disney itself. It's just historically, it's just it's just something that it's so it's understandable if people have reservations. But
I agree. But like from my perspective, I'm more in terms of the outlook of Lumity. To me, it's more on like what does the show intend with the two of them now? Like that's like now what it's up to, because I feel like they're doing what they want. Like this episode to me is a sign that we're gonna do the plot line that they wanted to Dana and the writers want to do with Lumity this season. So what is it they want to do? I think we talked a lot in off season, like it would be so huge if they actually dated during the course of the show. And now we know that the show will have a shorter run than expected. So it's kind of now or never this season in terms of them dating, which I do think we at some point covered in like a podcast in November. At some point I was like, well, what if we don't have a lot of time, and then I think everyone was like, let's do it now, So I think the question to me is like, is that something the show wants to do? Because I do think, as much as Lumity is a plotline that a lot of us feel maybe the most attached to with this show, if not like up there, this isn't the show's number one priority. Looking at the next few episodes, as far as we know, Amity won't be in episode 3 or 4, and there will be a Luz and Amity B plot in episode 5, which looks very promising. So we're very excited about that. But then it's possible after that Amity might not be in another 3 episodes. We don't know yet. But this is like every few episode thing. So is like them dating or interacting in some romantically significant way something the show even wants to do, or will it just kind of want to check in with these moments every now and then? And to that, I'm like, honestly, not sure yet. We have seen a lot of them the past few episodes, if you want to count the end of season 1 and now. But I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get like the dating arc that a lot of people might want.
Yeah.
Like the show doesn't strike me as a romance focused show in the say Miraculous Ladybug, where like that relationship is very much at the center. At least I feel from
I like that Beatrice did one mystery episode, and I like that she can now accurately speak to Ladybug. That's good.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, should I bring it up? I'm going to bring it up.
No, you were correct. Yeah.
But with Owl House, I don't think it's ever been like romance has ever been like. I don't think it's ever going to be a main plot point. But I do think it is a B plot-esque type thread that they've made an effort in developing. Like how can I express my thoughts? It's not like I don't see if anything I see it being like as something that is touched upon like every other episode or like every 3 episodes or whatnot. But the one thing I'll say in terms of time is that the show has been very good at efficient storytelling. It does a lot with very little time. So sure, we may not get like a 4-episode arc dedicated to Luz and Amity's first date, but I think of the time dedicated to for me, the question isn't if, it's more of a when. And it's more of like, okay, is this going to be something where like at the end of this season, it's that they're going to like establish like, they're going to like get together, or is it in like one of the season 3 things is going to be focused on them, kind of similar to like, say like Adventure Time or something with like Marceline and Bubbling or Bubblegum. Oh my goodness. But, and to me, that's fine. Yes, Lumity is like what I'm most invested in, but like I also understand what the priorities of the show have always been. Like what the main priorities have always been, which is like Eda and Luz's relationship, the outhouse, all these mysteries that have been established from the very first episode.
Yeah. I think to your point, like maybe Luz and Amity dating doesn't mean that we see them dating every episode. Maybe it's like the B plot of season 2, episode 16 is them going on a date, right?
Exactly. And there's shenanigans that happen or something.
Yeah, and maybe it like somehow connects to the A plot, which has plot, or maybe it's just one-off B plot. I could see that version of it for sure. That would be great. I would, and it's like, are they going to date? They're kids. It doesn't have to be them specifically dating. Could just be further kind of like romantic showings with the two of them in whatever capacity that the show is interested in. Sarah, any predictions on how this is going to play out this season?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as Beatriz, and I totally like agree with what you said about like how they're so efficient with what they do and effective with like doing small in a small amount of time, making like big strides in developing the Lumity relationship. And so like as much as I would love like just 20 episodes of Lumity dating, just relationship slice of life, that's definitely not what the show is going for. And so I'm really I will take whatever we get with Lumity, and this what the rest of the show does. I would really love to see them, going on dates and having the relationship be sort of integrated into whatever else is happening. But with it, I don't think it'll be a forefront of the entire show. But I still think it's going to be really great whatever they do.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, and I agree with both of you, and that's like kind of the most likely approach. Like it's hard to take stock of, because I agree, it's like this show clearly is not specifically romance interested as a main plot, but also if you look at like Grom, which is this episode, it's like such a major component, so it's kind of a little hard to reconcile those two parts in your head in terms of trying to project outwards. So it's more like look, let's just like enjoy the ride. I do think, like I will say, I do think the way you guys outlined it is most likely. That being said, I'm still going to hold on to a little hope for my like ideal situation, which is in this half season episode. We don't know anything about episodes 9 and 10. Maybe those end with like Lumity being a significant component of like a 2-parter that ends with Amity like being part of the main group now, and then she's in most episodes in the second half of the season. That would be like my ideal situation, but I would say that's less likely probably than us continuing how we are now, because this other part of this is just like how present will Amity be in the show, just because she only really does show up every few episodes.
Right. I mean, hey, the whole, as I mentioned, this entire show, it's always been a pleasant surprise to me. So there's still hopes. Maybe they're moving super fast. So maybe that will happen. Yeah. There's nothing to say that it won't happen.
Yeah.
And we still do have like, Amity's parents' connection to the Emperor's Coven and all of the, Amity, we'll get into all of the Amity stuff, but I think that, there's definitely plot related things that Amity and her family will have to do, and I think that Lumity can integrate into their as the plot as well.
Yeah, which I think they did a good job of this episode with the introduction of the parents and integrating Luz and Amity into that. So we'll see. Amity definitely has plot connection, so we'll see how she ties into the future plot. I guess last thing on the future, how's this going to play out with Luz blushing at Amity in this episode? We know episode 5, they're going to be back in the library, a follow-up to that library episode from season 1. And we, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but from a different promo, we know they will blush at each other again. Is this going to be addressed in the next episode Amity is in? Are they going to talk about their feelings to any extent?
Sarah?
I don't know. I think there will be some progression of some kind where they maybe recognize that they both have feelings for each other. I think that that's possible.
Right, like the next step is like Luz like understanding it, right? Like that's probably
yeah.
I think them being in some fashion on the same page as each other is the next logical progression.
Yeah, whether or not they confess to each other, I don't know, but I my guess would be like in episode 5, Luz recognizes her feelings for Amity. Ideally, hopefully.
Yeah, I feel like ideal case, episode 5 sets up for the confession.
Exactly.
Right? It
Yes.
gets us to the point where that is a thing that could happen in whatever
Yes.
episode that will next happen. Amity, Luz figures out she has feelings. Amity maybe recognizes that Luz has feelings. That could create ideal conditions for that sort of thing progressing.
Yeah. See, but would Amity recognize the Luz's feelings for her? I feel like they're both also I think they're both like
is Amity less dense than Luz in this area?
I don't know. I don't know who's more dense. They both have their moments.
Amity's supposed to be smarter.
Okay, but intelligence
When
has
it
nothing to
comes
do
to
with
Luz, I don't
density.
know.
Density, yeah, it's true.
You know, you could like.
The only thing is, we know Luz is super dense already. I just have some hope with Amity,
But
right? Like that.
I'm sure like Einstein was like hit on by a woman and then he had like no idea. You know, I'm sure, you know, sometimes geniuses have moments where they just can't read a room. You know?
Kind of contradicts this ability in some way.
Yeah, you can have sparts in different areas and be less smart in others.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, look, Amity can do it all. We'll see. We'll see if she can figure it out. What if Amity recognizes that Luz is like blushing at her before Luz even knows? You know, then how does she? That would be an interesting situation.
Here's the thing. Amity is like, yes, she's like an A+ nerd student, but she's also a jock. You know, so like there has to be a moment for her to be like the dense jock.
Is
Yeah.
Amity a himbo?
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah. Himbo-esque qualities.
You know, perhaps we have to see.
Is Luz a himbo? Okay, we don't need to get into all this. I think I called Eda a himbo in one podcast, and there's a spirited debate about that. Okay, we'll check back in on the himbo meter on everyone. Wrapping up the Lumity. Any last things? Just the whole sequence with them fighting the Abomaton, so wonderful.
It really was.
Yeah.
And you know, the inks leading up to it too was just, I think it was just really well done to just tug at your feels and think that, you know, Luz really wants Amity to help her, and Amity wasn't brave enough, but in the end she was, and it was just so wonderful.
Okay, like two points. Two things. One is how heartbreaking was it like in that early in the episode when like Luz is being dragged away and Amity and then like
she
Amity's
calls out
mom,
for Amity.
yeah. And then you know it's like the heart like Amity's mom like putting her hand on her shoulder and looking at Luz being like no, and it's just that was very like, I mean you can so easily like take that moment and make it like put that in the real world and put that with like, I don't know, like the parent who like rejects the love interest, like I don't know, there's just that moment resonated. And the second one was when like Luz gets down on one knee and
to help her pick up all of Amity's stuff.
But like the way Amity runs away, like I just was like, is this like her saying no to her proposal? Like, what is this imagery?
Don't say that.
Luz walks away so dejectedly.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so sad.
Like, you can edit in like a ring, and that's basically what it is. Not to say like, listen, not to say that like, because again, this is probably like their first like relationship, you know. So who knows? But like, also. That's what the image reminded me of.
Interesting. Okay, you're already going to the wedding fic.
No. No. I'm of the hey, let them grow.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. And then in the specials, then they can get married.
I mean, if there's a time jump, oh my gosh, if there's like a time jump and they have like older designs, that would be so cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We've seen a lot of older designs, yeah. And fan art, yeah. So
we've seen other shows do this too, a time jump at the end. So
it would be exciting.
Like a time jump that's like, but not like at the end, like an epilogue type thing. No. Like that, the entire episode is with their
like
time jump.
Season 2 to 3 is a time jump, and then the specials are time jumps. Yeah.
Yes, that would be so cool.
I'm always in favor of that. That'd be fun. Okay, we'll do some more speculation.
I feel like you've been a long advocate for the time jump.
I always love the time jumps. Oh yeah, definitely. Especially in this situation when the show's kind of ending, like it's a shortened final season, that'd be a great time. The only other thing I was going to say in terms of the outlook of Lumity, just because I forgot, is like I don't know when the writers knew that they weren't getting a full final season, so I think that comes into play here. Like did they know halfway through the season or something and could adjust the trajectory of Luz and Amity? So I think that's something that we'll see how that plays out.
Okay, one more thing I just want to shout out to Molly, one of the writers of the the Escaping Expulsion episode, who's our queen of writing Lumity episodes.
Yeah. Probably this is her last episode. We didn't know that we knew she was leaving this at the beginning of the season. We didn't know she would like get the half episode credit here, so that was exciting to see. But this very much felt like I said, very much felt like the sequel to like her end of season 1 episode. So that was great, yeah, for Molly.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was going to be another one of her episodes, so I was very excited.
Yeah. Yeah, so and honestly, I mean, like shows are amalgams of contributions from many people, so not to place too much emphasis on any one person. But that being said, knowing that Molly, this is like probably Molly's last Lumity episode, I am interested to see how the show does Lumity without like Molly writing it, because she has been such a vital force thus far to Lumity, or at least as like writing credits for the major episodes. So interested definitely to see how that works the rest of the season. Okay. Let's move on from Lumity. I'm sure we'll reference it in other aspects, especially we still haven't gotten into Amity's parents fully yet.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people have been talking about this new character this season, the Golden Guard. I think already a fan favorite. He is the main antagonist this season. I don't know. Maybe at least the one at the beginning of the season. He is the character that was introduced at the end of last season, I'm pretty sure, which I think I screwed. I think we all talked about this in the wrong way, because I was calling him the spy at the end of last season, right? And it does not seem like he's really doing any spying here. Seems like he's
sort of spying on Luce as she joined on the ship.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, but he quickly reveals himself.
Yeah.
So
Well,
more like just checking
himself.
In on them than spying on them.
Reveals himself, though. He's still wearing a mask. I don't consider the reveal until we see what's under that mask.
Okay, we get in the intro, the new intro, we get a glimpse of like some blonde hair or something. So,
Oh, do we really?
Yeah. So people already been drawing the fan art of the Golden Guard. Beatriz, what do you think of the Golden Guard so far?
Well, hearing about the blonde hair kind of like, because I was still thinking like maybe one of the twins is the Golden Guard.
Oh,
and there's
okay.
like some sort of thing happening. But hearing that, now I have to rethink my feelings for him.
That would have been such a fun theory, though.
Right? Like, it could have been, I don't know. It could have been really cool, but understandably, it's fine. I think he's fine. I think, like personally, like I've never been the type to I'm not like I'm not the fan who would favorite that archetype of a character, the kind of like bad boy who has this sort of edge, like that's never been the character for me. So I thought he was fine. Hopefully clearly he's like, he is a threat. He isn't someone who's just there. He was able to like threaten Luce and Eda. So I'm interested to see what he does. But yeah, I personally am more interested to see I'm more interested to learn about the Emperor than I am about him.
Okay, interesting. What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't leave a huge impression on me. I'm also not like, I guess maybe it's not my favorite archetype, but I thought it was fun, and I thought, I'm interested to see where it's going with with what this whole Golden Guard Coven situation is, for sure.
Okay, I'll be the Golden Guard stand. I'll take on that
Okay,
role.
cool.
I think he's super fun. I think I like the kind of charismatic, kind of more silly sort of villain. He's not like, he doesn't feel the need to like capture them. I guess he's in the position where he's just watching them, but he's more just like trolling than anything and making sure they don't get out of line. He's not like, he's a threat. He's clearly like not to be trifled with, I think is what Beatriz is getting at, but he's not like, he's not trying to hurt them right now. So he can just be like a fun antagonistic force for a while. I think that's I kind of like that character. I think he's voiced by Zeno Robinson, who we know from Craig of the Creek. He's the Green Poncho. I love his voice. So like, I think he's got a lot going for him. Maybe he's like a pretty boy underneath. That would be pretty fun if he takes off the owl mask. Yeah, I think this is a good foil to like Eda Lilith, is like the young upshot boy, like, right, like in who's like the prodigy. I think it's a good choice as like a foil to them, and I'm sure he will get his comeuppance. And I guess skeptical he's going to be like this major threat for a long time. I do think the Emperor's probably still more intriguing. But yeah, I like that we know that he's the head Emperor's Coven head replacement for Lilith. We were talking about who would that be over the offseason. And then I think he's integrated well into the end of episode 2 when he takes the Abomatons away from the Blights for Bellows, which is interesting. So I also like putting him into the first 2 episodes pretty clearly. I think they should continue that, make a strong presence with this new character right away.
What if he has like 5 eyes or something?
What was that?
What if he has like 5 eyes?
5 eyes. Oh, he could. Yeah, we don't really see his actual face. We just see like the side of it. Yeah.
Yeah, people if you're making a fan art, you shouldn't assume how many eyes he has.
No, I'm just saying, like, you mentioned Pretty Boy, and I was like, yeah, but like this world has such like icky, monstrous characters. I think it would be really cool if like you think he's gonna be a pretty boy, or maybe he is considered very handsome in that world. But like, and then he has like monstrous features or something.
Yeah. And on the Boiling Isles, you cannot assume that anyone looks like in any particular way. Yeah. That would be fun if he like the mask has to be hiding his appearance for some reason, right? Like there has to be some not from like a real life perspective, but from like a narrative perspective. Like there should be some reveal.
Yeah.
Coming.
Exactly.
Multiple eyes. Is it just that he's like really handsome? Is that the only reveal? Like, there's got to be something.
Maybe he's like Eda and Lilith's secret younger brother.
Oh,
maybe.
I like that we're again referencing the discussion at the end of the podcast. We are going to meet their mom soon, so that might tie into the themes this season. Okay, I like that.
Maybe he's like Amity's cousin or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, could he tie into the Blights? Yeah. I think we're looking for some. I like some tie to the established characters. I think that'd be fun. It's like why is he here? Why is he here and not Kikimora? All right, like you could have just put that random character into this role. I feel like. So like what's going there? There's probably a grander narrative purpose with this character.
Oh my God, he's Hootie. He's like Hootie. Hootie has like a split personality that split from the rest of him and manifested itself into the golden hood figure. Yeah.
Look, anything's possible with Hootie. I cannot rule that out. Okay. Like people are gonna like the Hootie theories. That's good too. What do we think of as we continue to think about the reveal? What do we think about the move of I guess it's like an obvious move if you're an emperor trying to consolidate power. You take away the weapons from I guess the Blights are not. We learned they're not like directly working for Bellows, right. Like a lot of people assumed. So you take away the like big weapons from them. But it's just interesting about the world building, right? Like we learned that like they're like a prominent family for a coven. So the covens aren't all inherently tied to Bellows, but they do defer to him in the end. And also that he's still kind of taking things over. He's still in the process of that. Although in episode 1, we comment that, Bellows is more in control than ever now. I think slowly getting more information, I think, on how things work, politically, I guess, in the Boiling Isles. Weirdly
enough, I feel like the fact that he's taking these weapons, these like abominations from them, it gives me hope that perhaps, maybe not for the greatest of intentions, they may turn against him in the future.
The Blights?
Because they're not directly linked to him. So even though maybe they're not going to maybe there will be a situation where there's going to be some sort of revolution or something. And I can see the covens revolting against him, perhaps. And I feel like that the Blights might take advantage of that situation to place either Amity as the coven head or like increase their influence by also wanting him gone. So it may not be for the best reasons why they would join up with, say, Eda and Luce, but that could be something I could see develop because they're not working directly with him, and he's actually, if anything, he's taking the business. I don't know if he's paying for the abominations or if he's just taking them. So, like, if he's just taking them, then, like, that's not going to be great for them.
I think the
ties more, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's news that it's news that the Blights are not inherently tied to Bellows or like in working like alongside him. So I think let's do discuss Amity's parents now, as that's a good tie into what we're talking about here. So we meet Odalia and Alador, yeah, like I think this concept of, and we'll go into more details in a second, but yeah, this concept of like they might turn against Bellows, that seems possible, interesting. That we reveal a main motivation with them at the end of the episode where Alador eventually gets Odalia to lay off of like getting rid of Luz because it seems like their ultimate goal is they want Amity to be the Coven head. So it seems like they want to gain that's like getting into speculation, but like, so it seems like ultimately they want Amity to be a Coven head. That's like a main motivation of theirs. That would lead, like, they want to gain more influence, like with the emperor with like the situation. We don't really know. Yeah. What was thoughts on that?
I mean, it seems like they're in it for the money, right?
Yeah. Do you see this as a follow up to them trying to get the like the Abomatons sold? Like that was like a financial motivation, yeah. But is the Amity being a Coven head, is that like also a financial motivation?
I don't know. I think more than financial motivation, it's more of just influence, power. I mean, which is intrinsically tied to money and wealth. But like, I think just saying they're in it for the money, I think they're in it for the influence and the power that would bring, and also the honor, the respect, the privilege that would be of having someone from your family be a Coven head.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they take the Blight family name very seriously, and they want to have the greatest honor to their name that they possibly can.
Yeah, and I don't know, like Adelia being like this kind of saleswoman, like of just constantly that to me gives me the impression of someone who's very ambitious, very like cunning, ambitious, jumps at the chance of an opportunity. So to me, I could see her having larger plans for her daughter than just simply getting the highest sale of an abomination.
Yeah, and I think like I agree they're ambitious. They're trying to like promote the family through Amity as like a vehicle towards advancing the family. I guess my big question now is like, are they trying to just curry favor and influence like on the Boiling Isles in general, or are they specifically devoted to the Emperor? Because I think like that's going to determine whether they would turn against him, how receptive they would be to Eda and anything if the plot advances in that direction. Like they bow or whatever to the Golden Guard at the end and allow him to take the Abomatons. But is that just because he's in power, or are they like actually devotees? I'm not sure that the episode is like clear on that.
Yeah, I don't think we know just yet. I mean, Adelia did have to poke the father, Alador. She did have to give like come down. You have to kneel. So maybe there is like I could see. In my interpretation of them is that they are loyal to themselves and they will do what they need to do to get ahead. And at the
they're
moment,
a little bit more independently motivated.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I would tend to agree with that. Thinking about it now, bringing in information from the finale, Bellows only took over 50 years ago. Maybe the Blight's purpose in the show is to be the kind of like old, like wealthy family who existed before the Bellows takeover, and to see how the old power in Boiling Isles reacts to the new like Bellows reign. So in that regard, they're not going to be loyal to him. They're just like trying to survive and advance in this current context. But you know, maybe like their ultimate purpose is to turn against him, like the older forces of the Boiling Isles. Would Odalia is ultimately going to want to further herself over Bellows.
Here's a thought.
Yes.
Kind of to flip it. Maybe before Bellows came into power, they weren't a well-off family.
And he like appointed them.
Exactly. Maybe it might have been like by siding with him, seeing that opportunity of like, oh, this person's going to succeed. Let's side with him. Now we have this wealth. And now we can like, so that might, if anything, that might make them not want to rebel against them unless they see that there might be more
like an opportunity.
an
But
opportunity
you're
for
right.
themselves to progress without
Right,
him.
like maybe Bellows took away the old money and instituted his own leaders based on
right.
who was loyal to him. That's a possibility too. I feel like I think both are possible. My initial read is like if that was the case, we would have seen more of an emphasis on their devotion to Bellows in this episode.
Very
But possible, yeah, that is totally another direction these types of stories and I guess history can go in. So I think that's all really interesting. So like yeah, let's see what is the like my what I was getting to with them is like what is seeing the Blight parents meta purpose on like the narrative. We see a specific purpose here though in their effect on Amity. I think probably the show is interested in doing a bunch of things at once with them in terms of tying into Bellows, tying into the overall political situation with the Boiling Owls. I think a lot of us are assuming that is the direction that we're going with the plot, but not completely sure yet. And also, of course, the plot's going to tie into Earth, so that's going to be interesting too, and with the portal, which I think we can come back to. But another big purpose with this episode is them spelling out Amity's motivations more. So let's talk about the two of them specifically. Odalia, as mentioned, salesman. She gets introduced as an oracle, which I missed the first time, and it explains, I guess, why she could communicate with the purple necklace to Amity telepathically. My read is that this is not just anyone can communicate telepathically with the purple necklaces. It's just that Odalia has this ability, this magic specialized in. So that's interesting. Also, I guess she would, there's an Oracle Coven, but they're part of the Abomination Coven. People probably figured this out already and I'm behind, but, they're the Blight Industries subsidy of the Abomination Coven. However, there's an Oracle Coven, which will probably come into play next episode. Did Odalia marry into the family and she was an Oracle Coven? Or which one's the Blight lineage? Do we know this?
No,
I don't know.
Interesting. Okay, that's my initial guess. So we know that Odalia, from what Dana said, wants all the kids to have green hair, but that doesn't mean that that's an inherent Blight trait, I guess.
Well, is she the Blight or is Alador the Blight?
Right, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's my initial theory, although I assume this is already outdated. But my initial theory would be she was maybe specialized in the Oracle magic and now is married into the Abomination stuff. But I mean, yeah, and Alador is the one with the Abomination. He's the greatest Abomination creator, so he's definitely of the Abomination track.
Yeah.
The fact that Odalia can do the Oracle magic must mean that she is part of the Oracle Coven. That has to be true.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm saying I should have figured this out before, but now I'm figuring it out though. So that's it. That is interesting that the Blights they're all Abomination. I guess I don't know if they're her siblings are Abomination too off the top of my head. But yeah, it's interesting dynamic. A lot of people were expecting Odalia to be the mean one, and they were right. Alador, I think, comes across relatively well, more like a pushover to Odalia, although he kind of asserts himself in key moments at the end of the episode. Beatriz, as personalities, what were your thoughts on the introductions to these two characters?
So I love Alador. Every time he went to look at a butterfly, I just that sign that there's a gentleness to him, or this I don't know. I just think they sold his really well. I really liked his personality. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like Abomination makers are kind of also artistic. They're creating these abominations. So there's a certain artistic flair. So I can see him being scientist, but with the kind of zaniness of a hipster artist or something. I don't know. I don't know. There's just a lot there that I was like, ooh, this is really interesting. And so Odalia, she's a boss, but usually I love that type of character, but there was just something about the ruthlessness. And I think, you know what it was? I think it was because when we were watching Luce fight the Abominations, when we were watching her fight Abomination Thanos, she was you could see that she was hurt. She was bruised. That there were the scuffs were drawn in red. So I was worried for her safety. Like we've seen her like jump and go through crazy things before, but this time like those small details of her being like really like in a fight really stuck with me, which made me kind of terrified of Odalia, and it really sold her ruthlessness of and I don't know, it just kind of I don't know, I guess it's the helicopter parent that really is trying to push their child to be like perfection that not that it turned me off to the character, but I'm excited to see how the shenanigans of Luce and her friends kind of drive her insane and maybe change her ways. If not change her ways, I'm excited to see her fall from grace or something. I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. Yes, follow up on that in a second. But yeah, Sarah, what were your initial thoughts on Odalia and Alador?
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen like before, I was like spoiled a little bit on the episodes, and I'd seen somebody make on YouTube make like a fan video of Alador of like every time he like does something kind of, I don't know, in the way some people would find charming. Like I liked Alador. I don't like stan him or anything the way people very quickly did. I thought that was just kind of funny. But yeah, Odalia does seem, you know, very unconcerned with Luce's well-being. She's like, you know what, I can't get Luce to stop hanging out with Amity. Well, let's just have Luce be exterminated by the Abomaton. Like that's the solution. Like definitely is a, you know, evil on the morality alignment in that regard. But yeah, I think, you know, she definitely is like, I'm definitely interested to see, you know, what they do with her character, and if she ends up kind of molding her morality a little bit towards a you know, perhaps potentially a little bit more good and not quite so controlling and ruthless.
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of fans' reactions, definitely a lot of people standing Alador so far. And then also people standing Odalia in like an appearance way. So that's going on. I think they're fun. I think it's a fun dynamic. I think Odalia comes across somewhat charming, a little bit sympathetic despite her actions this episode. That being said, I do think I'm reading Odalia with Amity in this episode as like a presentation of kind of an abusive parent relationship.
Yeah.
I think that's like, I don't think the show is interested in getting into like that term and specifically into these dynamics a lot, but I think that's like what the telepathic communication is like supposed to represent in my mind, is like, this is like how Odalia is forcing her will upon her child and not giving her a choice. And then she's off part putting her in harm's way, and then putting someone who she really cares about in even further harm's way. Really
yeah,
terrible.
And I mean, going to school to expel your children's friends is a rather, you know, I would say an abusive move.
Yeah. Can literally like an extremely controlling move. And her reaction to seeing Amity have someone she cares about, which does not seem rooted in bigotry, as I mentioned before, so that's not even a quote unquote excuse that you can say here. It's like purely like a control move. Is like, oh, I don't want you focusing on that. I want you focusing on things that benefit me. I think it's about as bad of a look for Amity's mom as you can possibly introduce her with in this episode, and yet they portray her charismatically. So I think that's kind of a fun way to show this character, but it's very dark and very upsetting as someone who loves Amity. And you know, very hopeful that like the only reason that we are allowed to continue, like she allows Amity to continue existing how she wants to and lose to be free, is like just because Alador points out that the current dynamic might ultimately benefit her. So we see no reason to believe that she will do kind of anything that is not benefiting of her, like try to mold the situation to her and the Blight's benefits in the future.
Yeah.
So I think like a very sinister outlook for a character that is initially seemed kind of fun in some aspects. Also, I want to say Alador, like, look, people stand what they want. Alador equally as culpable, in my opinion, in this dynamic.
Yeah.
And I do not like, like he is letting all of this happen just because he like comes across softer.
That's sort of how I interpreted it. Like, it's like you got like, it's not just because he looks like he's a little bit less intense doesn't mean that he's not equally as complicit in what's happening here.
Yeah, unless of course like there's some abuse going on in their relationship. Assuming that's not true, like he is not only letting it happen but endorsing these course of actions, as they do seem a little bit on the same page with what they want. So, I think they're fun, but it seems heavy. I think this is the most fun way you can portray this sort of dynamic, probably, with this show, with this episode. Like, you also get like the Lumity moments kind of shining through this like really dark, otherwise undertones. But a little bit, I like them as characters so far. A little bit dreading the next time they're going to be a major presence in the episode. I want to see how it's handled, but could be heavy.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, just I don't. Like, yes, the 100% with the controlling abuse and all that, but I don't know if she's, in her mind, I wouldn't say she's doing it for herself. I think in her mind, she's seeing this as, I'm doing this for the good of my child. Even though it is, like, controlling and abusive, like, I don't think she sees it as her being selfish.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I think I would definitely agree if it's, like, she's doing it for the family. Like, I definitely get that vibes. And I think she sees Amity as part of the family, so she's doing it for all of them.
I don't think that her intentions are to be harmful to Amity at all. And I think that it's something that's come up in discussions about like other parent characters where, parents can have like very good intentions for their children and can also be controlling and harmful without intending to be.
Yeah, and that's actually something I hope we see some sort of parallels with since we are going to see Luz's mom come back.
Mm-hmm.
So like, the entire show started with her wanting Luz to go to a Be Normal camp. So like, and even though like Luz's mom is like super loving and is just like, she's very like, that one thing is the one thing we see that like for some people, like for instance, like for me, I didn't take her as like a bad parent, but some people like from the get-go were like, she's a horrible parent because of this one thing. So like I'm curious to see how the parents come in, like how they both the trajectory of both of these parents in the future, because Luz doesn't fear her mom in the way that Amity fears her mom.
I would love to see the two of them talk about their moms and their relationship with their moms together. In general, when this sorts of things come, I don't think this is like a sit down and talk show, but that would be a nice thing for them to get into with their relationship as well. And the only other thing with them is like, Amity smashes the telepathic necklace, as like a representation of potentially her breaking free from her parents, at least in this episode. So I am curious to see how that manifests in the future. Is Amity fully kind of breaking free from her family now? Will she side with Luz quickly in the future? Presumably yes, after this episode. Is this a sign of her leaving home? That's something we've speculated about, potentially. And then there's like, how do her siblings play into this too? I think that's interesting. So, we see the step of Amity breaking free here. How's that going to play out in future episodes? Very curious. Anything else on Odalia and Alador?
Nope.
Moving on to Luz and then Eda and Lilith, as large parts of episode 1 and the other half episode 2 we haven't really talked too much about yet. So Luz, we see her record in the beginning of the first episode, recording further messages for her mom that are not sending as the portal's closed. She goes on the fun Selkidamis quest in episode 1. We see her as a pirate. And in episode 2, seeing her as and in addition to the end of episode 1, teacher for Eda and Lilith, as alluded to in the last season, teaching them her glyphs, her type of magic, Luz's magic boot camp. So there's kind of that. And then thematically also in episode 1, there's a thing of like, she thinks she's worried that she screwed things up for Eda and is like being a burden on her after the events of last season. So you wondering what's your analysis is of how the show is handling Luz so far in season 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've kind of really established where she's sort of gotten herself to in terms of her sense of self-confidence. And one of her opening lines in the first episode is like, "Do not underestimate me," when she was going to fight the monster. And talking to her mom, saying she's still aspiring to be a full-fledged witch, and that's what she plans to do so that she can make it back home. And so I think she really has developed a sense of feeling confident in herself and her ability to do things. She's really grown in her magical ability. Like, she can do so much, and it's so amazing. But we also really see that she still takes a lot of, burden on herself for the problems that aren't necessarily, completely or even at all her fault. Feeling like she needs to help Eda and needs to, go defeat the Silky Damas to get the money, and feeling that she needs to help get Gus and Willow back into school because she feels like, it's her fault that she got them expelled. And she really does take on sort of the burden and the responsibility of things, and feels like she needs to sort of do it herself to make up for that. And so I really want to keep seeing Luz realize that, she doesn't actually need to do everything herself, and she doesn't always need to take the burden on for others, as much as, that is sort of her newfound self-confidence really blossoming, if you will. Like she can sort of, recognize that she doesn't have to do it all herself, while knowing that she also still has so much power within her. So that's sort of my loose analysis for these opening episodes.
Nice. Yeah, I would love to see her feel less culpable for a lot of stuff going on that's outside her control. I love seeing her teaching Eda and Lilith. I think that was a great dynamic. Beatriz, any Luz highlights?
I think for me, kind of piggybacking off of what Sarah said, something that really stood out to me was that conversation her and Eda had, where they were Luz is very much allowed to be a kid, in that she has these doubts, and she does she does these reckless things, and Eda, despite her her eccentricities, is still the adult in this, and she's and they were, I don't know, I just really like that communication that they had in the first episode, of just at the end of Eda being I'm better now that you're in my life, So I just think watching Luz just continue to grow and expand on her magic, and the fact that yes, she's now the teacher of the trio, I guess, of her, Eda and Lilith. It's not so it's not a power dynamic shift. It's a lot of it's also for instance, Lilith was able to figure out how to work the glyphs, right? So, and how to bring these spells together. So I like how it's not all up to Luz now to figure out how to work her magic. It's she doesn't have to carry all this load on her shoulders. And I'm just excited to see how how she just continues to grow.
Yeah, I like this analysis of Luz taking on too much of a burden, coming into play with her teaching Eda and Lilith now, and her being forced to step into this role that she shouldn't kind of have to be put into. And so I think that's a good direction for the show to go on. Yeah, Luz, very fun these episodes, despite dealing with a lot.
Hopefully she doesn't get to Marinette levels of dealing with too much responsibility at once.
Oh no. That's true. We will see where. We'll give more chill time with Amity in the library, less having to teach it. Eda and Lilith were fine on their own. In episode 2 seemed like, so that maybe gives you hopeful that maybe potentially in the future, as we may moving on to Eda and Lilith now with this, them learning the glyph magic stuff. Maybe all three of them learning together now, as they're to a certain extent caught up with where Luz is at with the 4 glyphs. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So yeah, I think and to me this is the stuff that I thought was like really fun, really successful with Eda Lilith, these 2 episodes. Them, Eda at the end of the first episode learning her first glyph, and then them in the second episode learning eventually arriving at the combining glyphs, and learning kind of how this magic is working on the island. Them together through the loss of their magic, kind of diving into our questions of like how magic works on the Boiling Isles. I thought that was just a really fun component of that episode as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, so yes, I mean, maybe the direction in terms of how magic works is like there's light, plant, fire, and ice. Their version of the Avatar 4 elements, I guess. And
that's not okay. That's not explicitly to Avatar.
It's ancient Hindu and other mythologies where it's based off of. So what plant is earth. Light is wind. There you go. Okay. Ice, water. A lot of shows do the element stuff. It's Avatar, like most prominently recently, but this is a common thread throughout narrative history. And so like maybe there's the 4 basic ones, and they're going to start combining them to achieve other forms of magic. I think I don't know if I heard this super explicitly theorized upon. I think it's an interesting direction to take kind of this part of the show's mythology. Interested if the Titan plays into this at all, because I know there's a lot of talk of the Titan magic and stuff, but and then just the setting up the other parts of Eda and Lilith, and then we can check in on how they were. The Eda, we established they're struggling for money now without Eda having magic, so Eda kind of grappling without having magic, and then Lilith also she explicitly say confronting who she is without magic and her coven. And then she interacts with Hootie a lot to make this scrying spell for Eda to like regain her trust. We get the Lulu Hootsufer dynamic friendship. So that's right away we're going to the Lilith Hootie dynamic here, and that was I think a lot of fun too. Beatriz, any other highlights of Eda and Lilith in these episodes?
I do, before I get into the big highlight for me, but I do have one question about the mirror thing that you can see into the emperor's castle, whatever. Is it 2-way, right? It's 2-way.
Is it?
That's the feeling I got, that they can also now spy on them. Is what
I assume that wasn't the intent. Do you think
it was actually not clear to me the first time I watched it, because it kind of the audio sort of changed to be kind of like you were hearing it as like an echo through the little spying portal, but I don't like it. They didn't indicate that all of a sudden the guards could see them, so
right. It was just the echo made it seem like it was 2-way, which made it kind of be like which to me it was like, oh, I could see this being a thread that they'd later come back to where, oh, like Lilith messes up, even though she didn't mean to. And, it's like, oh, she's trying to regain their trust, and then she messes up in a very, very big way. I don't know. That was the feeling I got, but maybe I misread it, so.
Yeah, I didn't interpret it as the castle being able to hear them right now, but that could be a future plot, or it could be unclear from that episode, yeah.
Back to Eda and Lilith. I do really like, and this is such a small thing, but Lilith's expressions are like just like that little bit awkward. Like there's just this very adorable awkwardness between them because so much has passed. Like so many things have happened between them. So it's not like they don't click right away. And it's not like Eda doesn't try or whatever. It's just kind of like both of them are still trying to figure the other out. And I just thought the expressions that they would use sometimes was just very, I don't know, it's just really well done.
It's like really earnest, I think.
Yeah. There's just this earnestness of them both really wanting this to work and really wanting to fix things. And Lilith just looks very like, like her looking out the window and her being all like pensive and stuff. I'm such a Lilith stan, you guys. Such a stan.
As a Lilith stan, was this a satisfactory beginning to
yes,
season 2?
Absolutely. You get her teacher's pet moments. You get, okay, so like when she draws, like when Eda calls her in for finally to ask for her help, and she like is explaining how to incorporate the glyphs together, and it's like it looks like she's, in a way, it kind of looks like she's doing like calligraphy and like doing like kanji, like she's writing like some sort of like character, like when she's drawing the glyphs. I don't know. I just thought it was like, she looked really pretty. And I was like, oh, that's such a good shot. That was like a really well framed shot that accentuates Lilith's superior, not superior to anyone, but superior in terms of like, oh my God, this is so good. Maybe superior is the wrong word. Like incredible, like design, character design. Yes. Mm-hmm.
That you came across very stand-to-me.
Sorry,
so that was good.
Sorry. I'll reel it back.
No. We love it. It's good. Lilith very sympathetic. I think these 2 episodes after a lot of people were mad at her in the last season, so I think it's good. Start her off like have her like be funny with Hootie. That's a great way to get everyone back on Lilith's side. Lulu and Hoots for great. It was fun. It was really fun. I think with the 2 of them. Sarah, any other highlights from Eda and Lilith?
Yeah, I really enjoyed, their dynamic that they had, sort of awkwardly but earnestly reconnecting, and their dynamic really showing as being some of, sisters that, they're very different, but they do kind of get each other in some ways that people who have grown up together do. And I also felt like I find like I'm definitely the Lilith type in terms of students where I'll have my chart or my little cards to memorize and make sure I follow all the rules start to finish one at a time and
make a nice sculpture of the teacher.
Yeah, I think that I was maybe a little bit of a teacher's pet sometimes in school, so maybe that is true. So, yeah.
Got gold stars, but they both got gold stars, so that was good.
Yeah.
That was very fun. Yeah. And yeah, I agree. Eda and Lilith's dynamics very earnest. I thought it was great. Everything with them. I love them learning the glyph magic so far. I think that's been super successful, so I'd love to see more of that coming up.
Yeah, and I think, just like highlight, I think we sort of referred to this before, but they're kind of in this vulnerable position where they're having to reconcile their identities and their sense of self, and this was done pretty explicitly in these episodes, but I think that it's done really well because it kind of puts them in a vulnerable position, but that allows for that kind of emotional openness and growth. So I appreciated how they did it.
Nice. Yeah. Great stuff from them, and looking forward to more. And other last quick hits from the episodes here. Sorry for not giving some of these last topics. They're due. We're running long, and we're also gonna have to go quickly through the last segment. But Gus's voice changed a lot. We haven't mentioned it yet. He went through witch puberty, they say in the show. Was it just me, or was this like the most jarring voice change I feel like I've ever heard from a character? We hear a lot of these in like kids shows, but I don't know. For me, this one was just so different with Gus here.
I don't really like. This might seem bad, but I don't like. I just got so used to his new voice that I just don't really remember the old one. So I was like, oh yeah, puberty, okay.
Yeah, I think at first it was like, wait, what? But I think it adapted for me fairly quickly. Yeah,
we'll be fine. But yeah, he was much more high pitched. And I think it also stands out because I think he's the only kid voice actor of the main ones. So this is only an issue with Gus here. But I think he's also like younger. All of them they established. I think it kind of works with this character.
Like he grew, right? Like the design. They made him taller too. Like they made him like. Didn't they? That's
good. Yeah, I need to compare the 2 side by side, but probably, yeah. In a week or something, yeah. I mean, that checks out. Magic puberty, we've seen that. And then Sarah wanted to highlight with Amity in episode 2, right?
Yeah, no, I just think, it was a really nice moment where she's like acknowledged that Luce and Willow and Gus are her friends now. And, we started off with her kind of being more, socially as part of like a different group and struggling to reconcile her past with Willow, and I love the growth. I love that she's she loves that they're so nice and they listen to each other and they inspire her to be the kind of person she wants to be, and it really warmed my heart as a moment of growth for Amity, and I really think that it's promising to see her as part of the sort of friendship group moving forward.
Yeah, that was great. Amity gave the full-on reformed Mean Girl speech here in this episode. Like, We are 100% past any sort of Mean Girl origins with Amity, and it is the second episode of season 2. So this went very, we knew it happened quickly last season, but this was like the most earnest, like friends getting better possible speech I feel like you can give. And notably, following up on understanding Willow. Seems like they're good now, Amity and Willow. They maybe they'll touch on it in the future, but at least they can, kind of interact normally now.
Oh, and I don't think we mentioned. Maybe we did, but the very beginning of episode 2, where she like drops her photo, that's her and Luce, but also Gus and Willow as well, and she's like, no, nobody can see this, and like this can't be destroyed. This is so important to me. It was a really nice like little callback to the Grom episode, seeing that picture.
Yes. Yeah, that was great. And that's when Amity's mom determines the Luce's distraction for her. Yeah. But also, I think also had Gus and Willow in it, so it also like relates to the stuff with Amity. Yeah. That was good. That was good stuff with Amity. Yeah. Not just, a lot of great Amity character. Probably one of the best Amity character episodes in addition to the great Lumity content as well. Other quick things. We had the new opening credits in the beginning. For the first half, like of the animation changed. And I like it a lot more. These like epic introduction shots to each of the characters, and then you get the same flying scene afterwards. And then the end credits. If you're watching on TV, you don't see them, but there's like new hieroglyphic art in the end credits too, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anything we have written down from the quick hits section on these 2 episodes, Beatriz, that you want to mention?
Willow's dad's just lovely to see. Yes. I think that, I love how they just were like, we have quit our jobs and we're just going to fully dedicate to you. It's like, whoa, that's extreme. I really loved seeing them. And, I also loved, like, always love seeing the twins. Seeing the twins is always great. Curious to see why Odalia is so focused on Amity and not the twins. I wonder what their relationship with their parents is like. And I really like the Amity, Willow, Gus arguing of how best they should save Luce. Like Gus, who was it, Amity or Willow, who was like, this isn't a 1940s cartoon. That was like,
because I could create some imaginary, ladies to charm away the guard.
And it's just so perfect because Gus is, a human researcher or like historian. He's interested in the culture, and it's really funny. I don't know. I just really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's where I got it from. Yeah. One of Willow's dads had a book with Hot Pop on it, referencing frogs, a nice Amphibia with Amira and Edric, I'm wondering if they're like less powerful than Amity, so she's less interested in them in terms of furthering the family. I think that's a dynamic you can sometimes see. But I want to see more of them too in relation to the parents. Sarah, any thing from the 2 episodes you want to highlight?
Yeah, I mean, we have in the second episode. I thought it was really sweet that Principal Bump just was so upset that the kids were expelled. He cried and looked at the photo book, and that was just very sweet.
Yeah, it was sweet.
And then I also wrote one of my favorite quotes of the episode was, "I'm calling applesauce on this business baloney," which is basically my new quote for any time I'm mad at capitalism.
Applesauce seems a very loose word.
It's a very loose thing to say.
Very silly thing to, a lot of people loved Lilith's low battery shirt she's wearing now in the season. New fashion statement. Hootie wants to ship Lilith's old friends. So it's canon that Hootie is a shipper now, just so you know. And the intro to episode 1 references the intro to the first episode of the show. That was fun. And I think that's basically it. So there you go. On the first 2 episodes, we are going to do the abbreviated, like I said, running long, do the abbreviated section of the news and the trailer. So let's very quickly do that. If you haven't heard, we now know the future outlook of Owl House, which is that we are getting episodes weekly for season 2 through August 14th. So the first 10 episodes are weekly. Then there'll be some sort of break, and we'll get 11 more later in the season. So season 1 was only 19. We'll get that extra episode this season. So 10 weekly now, followed by 11 more in season 2. But then season 3 will be the last season and will only be 3 44-minute specials. So this was not expected. We saw this announced, and Dana initially said that this focusing on the situation was the main reason I left Twitter, and it was unexpected. So potentially an initial negative reaction. She also later said that it's challenging but excited for what we're planning. The 43-minute specials means an event we otherwise couldn't have done with a different kind of order. So I do think it's like disappointing. I think we're not getting, this is like probably the least amount of Owl House we could have gotten, but 3 kind of epic specials could be really fun. Beatriz, your reaction to Owl House ending sooner than we thought?
Well, I only learned about it today. I literally saw the outline and was like, "Wait, what?" Because I saw Owl House renewed for season 3 in like in some headline a while back, and I remember like messaging some friends, being like, "Oh, Owl House got renewed for season 3! Heck yeah!" And then
asterisk, not really season 3, more like specials.
See, I didn't see the asterisk. I just saw season 3, period, and I was just happy. And then I look into the outline today, and I'm like, what do you mean? But you're gonna make me do math. So what's 44 times 3?
Yeah, it's the equivalent of 6 episodes. So you get like 6 instead of 20. Yeah. So
like that's 132 minutes of epicness. Like that could be something like really cool that they could like kind of lead up to. Like there could be like, depending on where as you mentioned earlier, how we don't know when they learned about that order. So we don't know if that was like after season 2 was done or in midway through season 2, like how season 3 feels rushed. If not, rely solely on when they found out. But I feel like it could be really, 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 really interesting. There could be some really interesting things. Like there could be sort of like a 2-episode kind of epic conclusion, and the third one being an entire dedicated epilogue. It could be a 3-part thing. It could be 3 individual things that are resolved by the end of each special. Like there's so many ways it could go about this that maybe allows them to do, I don't know, that might allow them to do something really epic so. And not to plug in a show that I love, but there's a show that I'm watching called Vivi Fluorite's Eye Song. It's an anime, doesn't matter. But for a good chunk of it, they worked on 2-episode arcs. And let me tell you, you could do a lot in 2 episodes. You can play with people's feelings a lot with those 2-episode arcs. So if the 44 minutes are basically 2 episodes, there is a lot you can do in that amount of time. And again, Owl House has been very efficient with its storytelling, very successfully efficient with its storytelling. So if anyone can do this, I think if it were any other show, maybe I'd worry. But because it's Owl House, I'm not as worried.
Yeah. Nice. I agree. A lot of potential there. My read on it is that the 3 specials be used to wrap up the plot, not necessarily like epilogue, kind of like there's a Lumity special, there's a... Right. But that's my guess, but I'm not 100% sure. Sarah, any reactions to this?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had this sort of emotional roller coaster of like, oh my god, there's going to be another season 3, and then, oh, it's going to be 3 specials. That's a bummer. And then now I do kind of think like, the constraint, the limitation they have could lead to some really, really amazing creativity and really something exciting. So I'm hopeful that it'll be good, even though I am sad that it's not going to be any more than that.
Yeah. Sad, but hopeful, and we will check in on how this is kind of going throughout the season. I do think a lot of my reaction dependent on how season 2 is handled. So we will see, and we'll check in again on this. The other thing is we got a main trailer, and we've gotten a few promos as well for the Owl House. Before the podcast, Beatriz just watched the main trailer for the first time, so I'm going to insert her reactions to this trailer now.
Apologies for the sound. Oh, God, what is all of this? Wait, what is all this? getting like Eda like flashbacks to her like oh wait, was that a handhold? Okay, sorry. Okay, all right. Wait, it's not over yet. Is it over yet? No, it's not over yet. Okay, I've seen it.
Okay, there you go. So that was the Beatriz main reactions. Let me quickly go through some of the next few episodes. Michael did an analysis of the trailer, his specialty. So thank you, Michael. And we have potential outlooks. So we have next episode, Echoes of the Past, about King's past explored, lose Lilith Hootie. This is from description. Go to a dangerous new island. This Michael says it might involve the Oracle Coven. So we're getting into King's past, as was we saw elsewhere from the season. Episode 4, Keeping Up Appearances. Eda's unexpected family member who we believe is Gwendolyn, their mom. And then also potentially from the trailer, Lilith might be turning into a cursed version in this episode. Episode 5, Through the Looking Glass Ruins. The A plot, Gus trying to impress cool kids at Glandis. B plot, Lose an Amity, most dangerous section of the library. From the main trailer, we have Amity with her hair down in the trailer. We have the Lumity handhold coming up. These are from episode
Very
5,
exciting.
it seems like. Very exciting. And from other promos, we have Lose an Amity, blushing at each other, and then also potentially talking about trying to find a book to travel between realms. So that could be what they're doing in the library. Episode 6, we only have it a name so far, Hunting Palisman. Michaels predicts it's about potentially the Golden Guard being ordered to get a palisman for Bellows. He might have some sort of curse of his own. We've seen Luz with a cardinal on her shoulder, a bird, potentially a palisman. We don't know, but that's an exciting thing too, from some of the promos. Eda's Requiem, hype episode 7. People are speculating this is a big flashback episode for Eda, where we have seen shots of in the promo. There's shots of all the coven leaders. If you see the trailer, the groups of people looking. But specifically, people are excited for the Bard coven leader, who's the short, green-haired woman who people are now shipping with Eda because there's like a shot of them younger in one of the trailers. So this is the new ship: is Bard coven leader and Eda, and we'll see if that is explored in episode 7. And then episode 8 is called Knock, Knock, Knocking on Hootie's Door. We don't know what's going on here yet. So that's what we know as of this recording. Beatriz, what's your big reaction to all this information?
Well, remember, I only just saw this, so there are a lot of things that you just mentioned that just like flew past me by. Like, who is the Bard Coven leader? Like, I don't remember. Is it the lady that I thought was the what's her name from the book series?
She looks like Azura, yeah.
Yes, is that her?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, people are shipping them together.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm excited for then. I mean, obviously the Lumity handhold and stuff. The fact that that's like episode 5 makes me think that there's a lot more in store in future episodes, and we're not going to be ready. We're not.
I hope so. Yeah, they did hold hands last season, but more holding hands. Sarah, any big reactions to all this?
Yeah, I mean, definitely very, very excited for more Lumity. Oh my goodness, more Lumity in the library. I loved the library episode from season 1, so it's very exciting. I think, we also see, in one of the trailers, or both, I don't remember, it's been a while, but I know that we see Luz's mom, so it's going to be interesting to see how that comes into play this season. Is she going to be able to connect to her mom again? What's going to happen with that?
Yes, we see Camilla, and uncleared the context of that as of yet. Only other notable thing, Bellows we see him using a key to open the portal door, not the key that Luz has. So I'm interested about that. Like, Bellows has a replacement key. Does he need the key Luz has? Interested in that, how that plays out. But yeah, a lot of exciting things happening, especially for episode 6 and 7, based on some of the material that we might be seeing in those episodes. But also, obviously, Lumity in 5, and next week is King backstory. I mean, that's very hype of its own right. So a lot of really interesting things coming up on the Owl House. Beatriz, any final thoughts on any of that or the first episodes?
I'm just really excited. This is just going to be fun. At this point, would I have wished for more Owl House? Yes, but I'm going to just... Last year was rough, man. I'm just going to enjoy what I get. All right? I'm just going to have fun.
Yes.
Those are my thoughts.
It'll be fun watching all this darkness and suffering this season of the House, but
darkness and suffering, but like in the Owl House way, where it's also kind of amazing.
I agree. Sarah, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, we don't get as much of the show as we maybe would want, but I think it's what we do get is such a gift, and I think that we're really lucky to have a show like this that's just so, so character driven, so serialized, so explicitly queer. And I think that, these first 2 episodes and the information we have of what's to come, I think is promising for what we're going to get. So yeah, I'm very happy to be along for the ride.
Can I just say also, like, the fans of this show are so talented.
A lot of fan art.
Like, so talented. Like, wow. Incredible.
Yeah. Keep the Lumity fan art and other art coming. It's good. Okay, there you go. A lot to be excited for on the Owl House. We'll be back with the Owl House in a month, probably on episodes 3, 4, and 5. So we'll check back in on Lumity. Not, we planned it that way totally. And next week's podcast, probably checking back in on Ladybug. We'll be alternating for a while. So exciting stuff coming up from both shows. Make sure overlyanimated.com for all that. And if you want to support us, you can do so at Patreon, at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Steve. And thanks as always to our patron executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Beatriz, Michael, Needle, and Phonician. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you next time for Ladybug and be back for more Owl House in a month. Bye.
Bye-bye.